Good evening. Welcome to Leicester Fan TV. It's Monday night. My name's Phil. We're here every Monday, 7:30 till 8. We've got loads and loads of stuff to talk about. Today, we've called it Keeper Crisis. I'm not sure if there is a Keeper Crisis. Maybe that's being a bit exciting, but did see that Enzo Maresco was very interested over the weekend in Hermansen. So we can talk about that. We can talk about the Mercury reporting that we have agreed to sign Soule. That sounds good, but agreed. I'm not seeing that being reported anywhere else, but the Mercury have it that way. And Cardiff want Casey McAteer. Of course, tomorrow night is Leicester's one of our pre-season games away at Shrewsbury. Are you going? What are your views on it? And Friday, we've got our home game at Chesterfield against Palmero. So we want your views. We want your comments in the next 30 minutes of this show. What do you want to talk about?
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content, like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live. Thanks to our sponsors, Everards, Barlow Blinds, Pukka Pies, Car Leasing, Distillers Direct, Hollogram, Take Me, Newby Co, and the Foxes Arms and Rainbows. We are live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yes, good evening. Welcome. My name's Phil. If you're watching this live, don't forget you can get your views and comments. And in fact, that's what this show is all about. We want as many comments from as many Leicester fans as possible. Don't forget, you can follow us down here at Leicester Fan TV on all the social channels. And we get your comments on screen. Good evening. Ian the Super Fox says good evening. So does Clibo watching on YouTube. Good evening to you. Neil, hope you're well watching on YouTube. Matty, where are you this week, Matty? You were in Italy last time we spoke, I think. Where are you tonight? In fact, where's anybody tonight? Are you on holiday or are you in Leicestershire or wherever you watch from? It's always nice to know. Dawn, hope you're well. Craig, good evening. Andy says to all Leicester City fans, I mentioned Casey McAteer, Cardiff showing some interest. Richie comes in and says McAteer should stay at Leicester City, not letting him go to Cardiff. Do you agree with Richie there? We've sort of spent quite a lot of time with some of these players like McAteer, developing them. Would you want them to go? I'm just looking at Rich's profile picture. Colville football supporters there. Yeah, okay. Anything else you want to talk about, just let us know in the comments. Tez says, bump the price up for hands if they want. Yeah, we've talked about Hermansen being of interest. Enzo Maresco was apparently reported in the media saying that he wanted a ball-playing keeper, which is exactly what he wanted at Leicester, and of course he's gone to Chelsea, and sort of saying the two keepers they've got there are not good enough to do that. Interesting stuff. The councillor, good evening, sir, says 45 million for Mads, snap their hands off. I would sort of agree with you. I don't know, what did we play for Hermansen? 3, 4, 5 million. I don't think we paid a lot. If it was 45 million, the current financial situation you're in, you would have to be interested in that. Joseph, good evening, hope you're well there. John Towers, good evening. Hope you're well. Hams Mohammed, I hope I've said that right. Hams says, hey, are we losing Hermansen to Chelsea? Is what you want to go in there. Good evening, says David, in Kabbalah in Iraq. Oh, crikey, you're probably going to win the prize tonight, David, for being in perhaps the strangest place. Gav, good evening. Dawn is on holiday in Northumberland. Beautiful. Well, if the weather's nice, it certainly is. It's meant to be beautiful up there. I've never got much further north than Newcastle, I don't think. Washing from Worcester says PFW on YouTube. The councillor says, unless silly money on offer, Casey must stay. Talking about Casey McAteer, future of the club and deserves a stint in the Premier League in there. Gary says, can we get rid of Ward first? It's a debate, Gary, that I'm going to have with Simon when I add him in very, very shortly. I was chatting with Reedy earlier and we went, good grief, if Hermansen was to go, we've got 3 keepers, Iverson, Ward and Jakob Solovic. I can never say his name right. Could you imagine Danny Ward being our starting keeper? I think he's still got the #1 shirt. I think we've all been seen that and done that. Andy says we might as well give Chelsea a loyalty card, buy 5 players, get 1 man in. get one free, or buy a manager, get 2 players free. I don't know how it is. Listen, I'm going to add Simon in. I want to get as many of your views and comments in, so we're going to try and get as many on screen as possible. Simon, good evening. Welcome to the new season. How are you?
All right, Phil. How are you, mate? Nice to see you.
I'm good. I'm looking very pasty. You're looking very tanned.
Maybe I've just sat in the garden a bit more than you, mate. I think you're working hard at the minute from what you're telling me.
Yeah, we need a bit more sun. Listen, are you starting to look forward to the new season, Simon? Let's start with that one with Super Cooper in charge.
Yeah. Like, as you know, because we talked, I wasn't massively enthusiastic about the managerial appointment at the time. Thought there was other options on the table that might have been better for us. But having said that, Cooper comes in, you get behind him. We've got to get behind the guy and give him a chance now.
Where do you want to start, Simon, tonight with? I mean, we're full of. We've got the match tomorrow. We will come on to that, but obviously we've got loads of little bits of gossip in there. The one that perhaps we should start with, the positive one, if it is positive, is the Leicester Mercury were reporting that we've agreed terms with Matias Soule, who looks, from everybody's getting quite excited because he is meant to be quite a good player. I say the Mercury are saying we've agreed it, but there is West Ham involved. There is Aston Villa, there is Crystal Palace, and his preferred choice, the player himself has said, I want to go Roma.
Yeah, and I think some of that now will be Juventus not wanting to sell what they'll see as one of the up and coming stars in the league to a competitor in the same division. Christ, we're talking about paper talk now again, but from what you read, he doesn't want to come here. He wants to go to Roma. But it appears that we've done some kind of agreement or deal with Juventus, so it will come down ultimately now to terms and whether the player accepts the move or he digs his heels in, hoping that Juventus will give way in the end. But he looks like a real prospect. I watched some of his games last season on YouTube over the last week or so since he's been mentioned with the club, and he's a number 10 type behind the striker sort of player, or he can play out wide. Looks really talented. He's got a goal in him. Not afraid to take a penalty. I think he'd be a big boost to our attacking capabilities, Phil.
Do you think he sort of drops into the role that Maddison would have played, that then Dewsbury Hall would have played? Is he that sort of replacement of Keane and Dewsbury Hall? I think
that's some of the idea. If you look at our pool of centre midfielders now, there's a lot of more defensive minded players in there. We're lacking a player. There were times. The Chelsea game last season, for example, I thought Dewsbury was outstanding. He looked like the kind of real Premier League star on the pitch, and he just, the way he drives the game from defence to attack. We need that in the team, and if this new signing can bring that in, I think it's something we're lacking at the minute in that squad.
Yeah, let's get some comments in here. John Tower says, I hope we can get him in. Terry says, go to Roma if he doesn't want to come here. Andy goes on to say, do we really want a player who doesn't want to come here? Simon, like Andy says there, he's been fairly clear in what press release. You have to be careful and take it with a pinch of salt, what you read in the papers, but it does sound fairly clear that he doesn't want to come to Leicester. He does want to go to Roma. I take it that he probably doesn't want to go to Villa, West Ham and Palace. But if it was Villa, West Ham or Palace or Leicester, I'm not seeing Leicester at the top of that pecking tree either. No,
and as you just alluded to, I don't think it's a Leicester thing. I think it's a Premier League England thing. I don't think he wants to come to the Premier League. Maybe he feels he's not quite ready for that step yet. Who knows? He's a youngster, but his obvious desire is to go to Rome. It'll come ultimately. Football's a business, as we both know, and in the end, if the money's right, the deal's right, and the agent's on side with it as well, then I'd imagine it will happen.
Yeah, I'm just writing here, Simon. I'm going to put it on screen. Rome or Leicester? Somebody's just put it in one of the comments. Which is your favourite city out of those two, and why, Simon? Talk me through the advantages of Leicester.
Well, for me, Phil, I'd pick Leicester over Rome, personally. There's no Leicester City Football Club in Rome, is there? So, I don't want to go and sit and watch Roma of a weekend, much as I'm sure the city itself is very pretty.
But, Simon, or the Colosseum, which is the better monument?
I get where you're coming from, but
the Trevi Fountain or Brannigan's down Clock Tower Street. What?
Phil, it's a career, not a holiday, mate. So ultimately, if it's right for his career and the right people are saying the right things in his ear, he'll come. But there's obviously some hesitation there, and who knows? There could be games in there of trying to get a bit more money out of Leicester. Who knows?
Yeah, it could be a bit of gamesmanship in there. Blue Fox, watching on YouTube, says if Soule doesn't want to come, then move on to the next target. Who would want to be here? Can't waste too much time. And time, Simon, is starting to start to creep on. We're now under a month until the start of Leicester's season on the 19th of August. So do you feel with Dewberry Hall gone, we do need this type of player, whether it be Soule or somebody else? Is that what's lacking in the squad at the moment?
In a word, yes. I would say, personally, me, if you're asking my opinion, I'd like a striker as well. I know that's a big ask, but I think, whilst we have got strikers, I don't think there's anything there right now that's a massive threat in the Premier League, apart from Vardy, that obviously at his age is going to be in and out of the side during the course of next season. So, yeah, for me, a forward-thinking, attacking centre midfielder is a big miss. And, from last season, for example, whilst obviously we had Dewsbury all in there, but he sat more as a number 8 than a number 10. Maresca didn't want a number 10 type sit behind a striker, attacking midfielder in his formation, whereas I think with Cooper, he's far more akin to playing that sort of football.
Yeah, I think it's going to, like you say, it's going to be interesting. I think you need some creativity in there, and probably that is, if we still had a Maddison, we would be wanting that. Somebody who can suddenly create something out of not a lot, and it is your sort of go-to player. I don't quite see that Winks is that player. He is a little bit, I think Winks can be the Danny Drinkwater quarterback in a counter-attacking or that type of football, but I don't see him being necessarily the creative person between that halfway line and penalty box.
No, he sits behind, like you say, as a quarterback, playing 30-yard passes and making a sort of transition football in terms of, in modern day talk, in terms of transitioning the game from defence to attack. The other thing I'd say about this is that without that sort of number 10 player in the team last season, there were times in games where the striker got very little in terms of opportunities. The chances for the strikers are few and far between, and having that link man in there for me will be key to feeding our forward with some decent opportunities.
Yeah, Ziv says I think for Soule the decision should be if he wants to play at Serie A or Premier League for his development. Very different leagues, Simon. Again, we've seen it a little bit with Soumare and I would say Adrian Silva, Ibora. There's probably a list of players they've come over to the Premier League with Leicester. And this happens at all clubs, and not all of them can make that transition. So maybe himself, he thinks he doesn't fancy the pace and speed and ferocity of the Premier League, Simon.
Yeah, and also the physicality of it. It's a more physical game than the Italian game. You watch Southern European football, and a lot of it's very stop-start. It's slower in pace. It's more pedestrian. And on top of that, there's a nucleus of teams in most of these leagues that largely win most games, a small nucleus, whereas the Premier League, everyone will give you a game. It's hard graft. And maybe he feels physically he's not ready for that yet. Who knows? We're speculating, but whether it's him or someone else, I think we need someone in that position, someone in an attacking central midfield role to drive the game on from the middle.
Yeah, Paul says he'd like the lad from Blackburn, and Maxine goes on to that and saying Zmodic's now in talks with Ipswich. He was the Championship top Golden Boot scorer, Simon, and he's not an out-and-out striker. Did you have any views on him? I know a lot of Leicester fans thought perhaps it's a flash in the pan. I obviously scored against us in the last game of the season. I thought looked pretty decent. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, he's a decent player. Untried at that level, but most of the players that we're looking at this season, because of our circumstances, will be. We've got to pick what Cooper and the club thinks is the best of that bunch, a kind of nucleus of maybe players, and hope they work out this year.
Yeah, don't forget, if you're watching this live, get your comments in and your views in. Myself and Simon will react to them, and you'll steer the show for us. Just like this one here from the councillor, who says, Simon, and again, the game on Saturday, we only saw little clips on Instagram of what went on. But the councillor says, I hope Cooper starts with 2 up top for our home games, Bards and Cannon from the off, which I would have said That's never going to happen. The days of having two up top are never going to happen. But from some of the clips, Simon, I don't know if you saw much of them, from the match behind closed doors against Villarreal, I noticed that Vardy and Cannon were on the pitch at the same time. And it did look like, you know, they went up and congratulated each other after Vardy's goal. And I'm like going, it's hard to tell, but was he playing two strikers at the same time?
Or was he playing Cannon just off of Vardy behind him? I would say that's probably,
isn't it?
Yeah, it is still two strikers. But I mean, we saw last season a little bit that Cannon can play a little bit of a deeper role. He might be an answer to what we're discussing in terms of just playing a little bit more withdrawn from the front. But yeah, it's not the fashion as we know at the minute to play two up front. I don't think. I've seen that for a long time, unless of course the team's losing with 5 minutes to go and they might throw someone on. But generally these days it's a lone man, isn't it? So, and that game against Villarreal the other day, I think he played 3 different teams. He just kind of gave everybody a run in different phases. So I think we'll see more of a pattern as these 90-minute games start to unravel this week.
Michael says there, Simon's got a London accent. I don't know why people have a problem with that you have a London accent. Don't exactly live in London, Simon. So, you know, and you've got Leicester City top on. So I don't know why people have that. But there was a back
all the rest of it, yeah. I mean, I was brought up in London, so hence the accent. But I live locally, as you know. Yeah,
indeed. John Towers says here, I can't wait for 4-4-2 to be the new way to play. I keep saying some manager's going to reinvent 4-4-2 and everybody's going to think it's the second coming of somebody amazing. But it could happen at some point in there, Simon. But maybe Cooper might employ it from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you watched a bit of the Euros, Phil. I mean, the systems that were adopted by a lot of the teams were very similar to Maresca's football with Leicester last year. Quite pensive, defensive, keep the ball, even if you end up with your defender, etc., etc. And I'm the same. I'm kind of waiting for someone to break the mold and start playing that old blood and guts and thunder type of way, because I much prefer watching it. I don't know about you, Phil.
Well, I do. I mean, Austria tried it a little bit to an extent, and I thought Holland did as well at times, and a bit Turkey. You know, you do have to every now and then try something different. I do think Cooper's going to bring some of that. Simon, a few more transfer rumours. Hermansen, for a start, that was what we sort of lined the show up, which I think is a bit clickbaity, if I'm honest, but it was still my idea. Hermansen to Chelsea, although there is rumours coming out now that they are after a different keeper, but Maresca did say in the media that he didn't feel the two keepers they have fit his bill of a ball-playing sort of, you know, I call it almost like a centre-back keeper. A centre-back who can actually play a bit of goalkeeping is what Maresca wants.
Yeah, it's almost like the old Baresi sweeper type thing, but in goal instead, isn't it? Kind of sitting behind the defence and picking up the ball and playing it. I mean, I'm not a person. I don't know about how you feel, Phil, but I'm not really that bothered if Hermansen leaves.
No, if we get money, Simon.
No, I mean it sounds like good money, but in addition to that, I think both Stolarczyk and Iversen are decent shot stoppers. I mean, the end of the season we got relegated, I thought Iversen had a decent going goal, and I don't think either of them are short of that standard, in my opinion. Yeah, they might be out and not pass a 40-yard ball, but that's not really, in general, what most people want from a goalkeeper. So, you know, for me, I'm not really, if they want to pay 40-45 million for Hermansen, I'd like the rest of you, I'd take the money and put it in the bank for other players, and where we need, you know, players in positions that are more urgent at the minute.
Well, let's put that out there, Simon. If you're watching this live, put in the comments if you would accept that 40 to 45 million pounds for Hermansen is actually good business, and you would take it. I think the fear for me would be is that Danny Ward ended up in goal for us, Simon, because I think we've been there, seen then, done it. I didn't really rate Ward much before he got his chance in the Premier League. His Premier League season was not good. Funnily enough, Simon, my memory was that Iversen towards the back end of the season almost helped keep us up. We checked the stats before doing this video, and actually his point ratio compared to Ward's was about the same, slightly worse. So it wasn't like Iversen coming in did actually suddenly increase the goal points per game. But I thought Iversen looked okay, but I'd rather start with Hermansen, but if you think it's good business, let us know in the comments. Fox is watching on YouTube, says 40 million plus is absolutely good business in there. Neil is saying, yep, give them Ward as well with Daka. Again, listen, Daka's going to be there. Danny Ward's going to be there because people aren't just going to sign these players because they're on too much money, Simon.
Yeah. I mean, it's Leicester's fault, isn't it? They gave them such big contracts that they're kind of tied to the club now till their contract expires because the performances that they put in for the club don't warrant the salary. So we're stuck. I mean, if we're going down the Daka route, I mean, he's had more than enough chances in in a lower level now as well to prove his potency, but he's wanting, unfortunately, for whatever reason that might be.
Yeah, Michael says here, yeah, that's good money, take it. Ray says anything to avoid having Danny Ward in there. Ryan says if they take Daka, they can have Hermansen for free in there. Another little rumour that's gone out earlier today, and it is still a rumour, Simon, but Cardiff interest in Casey McAteer. I've seen that one doing the rounds, and that's the sort of rumour. When I read it, I go, I could sort of believe that could happen. Again, early on last season, we saw quite a lot of Casey McAteer. He was scored 4 or 5 goals quite quickly and looked quite decent. And then had a bit of an injury, didn't he? And then drifted and never got back into Maresca's side. Hate to see players who the club have developed for a long time go. And there's talk that Cardiff would buy him. What's your take on Casey McAteer?
One for the future, Phil. For me, he's probably not a starter from the start of the season. I wouldn't think if Steffi Mavididi and Abdul Fattah were fit, he's not getting in the team, and I think he's going to have to accept that. And it's a question of whether he's got the belief in himself and the patience to believe he can break his way into the team during the course of the season, or wait for an injury maybe and an opportunity that way, or whether he wants football now and he just wants to go and play every week. And if he's got that desire, then obviously it's unlikely Leicester are going to provide that. However, like you say, he's another one that we produced, and it's a shame if we keep churning these good players out and letting them slip out through our fingers and off to other clubs. I mean, there's a few. I mean, Chelsea have got quite a collection now, and it seems like they might grow that in the near future, maybe.
Yeah, I get. My hope is with Steve Cooper, we've sort of again, one of, for me, the big pluses with him is that he is been well known for developing young players, and that's been one of the Forest fans I know say that's one of his best skills, is working with the youngsters. So McAteer, Alves, Braybrook, some of these, I'm hoping that 1 or 2 of those maybe get the chance under him to develop and do get thrown in maybe at the deep end, and one of them becomes a star in the Premier League, because that's we've seen with Spain this year. It doesn't matter how old football players are, it's just a number, isn't it? If you're good enough, you're good enough, you're old enough.
Absolutely, Phil. Yeah, and why not? We are a club that likes to promote our youth into the senior squad and the first team. So why not? And if he backs himself and he thinks he's got the ability and the quality to have an impact in the Premier League, then stick around and prove it.
Yeah, John O'Toole says, I worry about Mavididi. I think we need other options on the left. Mavididi could be decent, but he has been awful too many times. I hope he pulls his socks up. John O'Toole, I think, to answer that, I think, Simon, Mavididi is going to be the sort of player who loves the bright lights of the Premier League and everything that it brings. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know, but I do think it might be his time to really shine when he knows the world is watching what he does.
Yeah, and when they signed for the club last summer, Winks, Mavididi, etc., they were thinking about, I'm sure in the back of their mind was the season after in Premier League, and that was a carrot, I'm sure, that was dangled by the club in terms of the club's ambitions. So this will be what the likes of Mavididi joined the club for, to play in the Premier League. So it's on him now to get out there and prove he's of that standard.
Yeah, indeed. We've got a question here, a couple of points. Ryan says, and I do happen to agree with what Ryan says. He says, in my opinion, we might need a shot stopper this season in goal. We're not going to be trying to play beautiful football out from the back, or are we? I think Ryan maybe has a point there, which could work with Hermansen. And just before you answer that, we've got a Chelsea fan ask an honest question, Simon. You can answer him. He says here, thanks, Hams. He says, want to ask you, how was Hermansen last season from a Chelsea fan, you reckon he'll be good in the Premier League? Because those questions go together almost.
They do. Hermansen's a good goalkeeper. Don't get me wrong. There was. I mean, if you watch the montage of some of the saves he made last season, he didn't. Some of the saves he made that they should have been goals. He's got some real quality. I don't think he's quite at his peak yet as a player. He's still got some development to do. I actually agree with the former comment as well that next season, we're far more likely to be under ambush from other sides far more often for longer periods of games. So having someone in that goal who's got a real determination and grit just to keep the ball out of the net is going to be key. I'm not saying Hermansen's not that, but I think the other two lads, Stolarczyk and Iverson, have demonstrated that they certainly are. And I don't think, for 45 million, I think it would be a no-brainer just to let him go, because I think we've got enough in that position already. Nicholas
says here, are we saying Hermansen's shot stopping isn't good enough? No, I don't think we are saying that at all, Nicholas. But I think what we are saying from a Chelsea point of view and a Leicester point of view is probably Hermansen's best thing is how he distributes the ball and how he's comfortable on the ball, isn't it, Simon? That I don't think we're going to get so much time on the ball, because the better Premier League teams will be on us like lightning.
Yeah, he's a good goalkeeper. Come on, let's be honest. I think the reason why a lot of us are saying, well, just sell him is because of the amount of money that's been thrown around. If it was 15 million, we'd probably be saying, no, we want to keep him. But that's a lot of money for a player after one season in the Championship. So, for me, it's business sense for the club to move him on. Is he a good goalkeeper? Yes. Will he end up being the Danish national keeper? Yes, he will once Schmeichel puts his gloves down. But, at the minute, I'm saying we are not desperate for with Stolarczyk and Iverson. We've got enough there, and that money can be spent better elsewhere to strengthen the squad, in my opinion.
Quick question for you, Simon. Quick question, quick answer. Will Keane and Dewsbury Hall start for Chelsea?
Yes, I believe he will. I don't think they'd signed him if he wouldn't. And I think he's obviously a favourite of Maresca's, and he wants him in that team.
I'm surprised. I mean, obviously that's fair enough. I actually don't think he will. I don't think he's up to the standard of Chelsea. But like you say, they've spent 30 million on him. We'll just have to see what happens there. Simon, we've got a couple of moments left to just look forward to the Shrewsbury Town game tomorrow night, and then it's Palmero on Friday, which I know you're going to, at Chesterfield. I expect both games will see lots of players getting lots of game time. What are you sort of excited to see, and what do you think we'll see?
Like any football fan of a club, I'm looking forward to seeing the new signings, obviously, that have come in the club over the last couple of weeks. I'm really eager to see what system Cooper plays. I think, as I said earlier in this chat, we'll start to get a little bit of an inkling of what Cooper's plans are tactically this season. That'll be interesting. And who he selects in the centre of defence, that's been something on my mind over the last week or two, in terms of we've now got this wealth of centre backs. Who's he going to end up picking? The likes of Harry Suter that have not had a sniff under under Maresca are going to start raising their hopes that they're going to get a chance of first team football again. Obvioususly, Wout Faz is away with Belgium at the minute, but it'll be interesting to see if he's on holiday. After being away with Belgium.
He's come back, hasn't he? Now,
recently. But those guys are behind the curve a little bit. But it'll be in terms of training. But it'll be interesting to see how they start to bed in, and whether Cooper reverts to kind of more familiar Maresca selections, or whether he actually has a completely different opinion. Christensen's another one that I'm interested to see what happens with as well, Phil, because he obviously sent on loan last season. I quite liked him as a fullback prior to that, when it was the first season at the club. And from what they say, Cooper likes sort of more of a conventional fullback setup. So does he come back in the mix? So I guess we'll start to get all these questions answered over the next few friendlies.
Here's a question for you, Simon, and anybody watching this, and it's a bit weird. What football kit are Leicester going to be playing in tomorrow night? Because Shrewsbury Town's kit is effectively blue with sort of golden yellow stripes in it. So Leicester's kit is blue. So I would say you can't have Leicester playing in our home kit of blue. And we have yet to launch our away kit. Is tomorrow the day the away kit is launched, Simon?
Maybe. I did see some iffy photos on social media of a black kit with like red or orange flames on the bottom. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I have seen that,
yeah. I don't know whether that is the away kit or not, but yeah, they play in blue. So I guess rather we're in last season's kit or we're showcasing our new away kit next tomorrow night.
Yeah, well, it must be. But as ever with the club, it'll be mixed in like cloak and daggers, and nobody will say anything. And they'll suddenly come trotting out of, I don't even know Shrewsbury Town's ground name. Come on, what is it, Simon? It's not the Vetch Field, is it? Somebody put in the comments, let me know. I should know this as soon as they say it. I'm going to know it. I thought you might get it, Simon. Shrewsbury Town. Don't try and Google it. I need your brain power. Somebody will put it in the comments. Honestly, Simon, anybody watching, any question you've got, somebody will have the answer to it. Where does Shrewsbury Town play? What is their ground? Let's get that in before we finish. And are we going to play? Somebody's put in here Crowd Meadow. It's not Crowd Meadow, Richie, but it's something like that, isn't it?
Gay Meadow, there you go. That's it.
Gay Meadow, there you go. Well, not Meadow Lane is Notts County, isn't it? So
Meadow Lane, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's Notts County. New Meadow, says John Towers. Maybe Gay Meadow was the old one and New Meadow's the new one. I don't know if they've moved. But Chris is saying,
they've had a new ground, Phil. I know they've had a new ground in recent times.
Stephen says the white away kit was shown earlier on LCFC. But he's put question mark, Stephen. I don't think it has. Like Simon says, we've all seen sneaky ones. We think the third kit is the black with the orange. Well, it looks like you've set yourself on fire with a barbecue at the bottom, and the white kit might be the second kit in there. It's Crowd Meadow Shrewsbury, it's called. Oh well. And Chris says it's Gay Meadow was their old ground. We don't sound like we've quite got the answer there, but maybe we have. Anyway, Simon, listen, it's time to finish. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight. Lots of views, a bit of gossip. I think we've been a bit naughty maybe with the title saying it was Keeper Krisis, but you never know. I wouldn't rule out Manson going, Simon.
No, I mean, as you said earlier, it's a Keeper Krisis if Danny Ward's in goal come the first game of the season for me. That is a Keeper Krisis. I
think it would be. And there is a Welsh connection there, obviously, with Cooper. He might think he can get something out of Danny Ward that we haven't seen. I've always had the opinion, Simon, that if you've had a keeper who's happy to sit on the Liverpool bench for 8-9 years and happy, Ward's been at Leicester for like 7 years, hasn't he? Something like that.
Yeah, I think he's made a career out of being a reserve, and I think he's most comfortable, as you just said, on the bench just in case when all the pressure and the spotlight's on him, he seems to struggle a little bit.
Indeed, Simon. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to let you go.
Thanks, Phil. Nice to see you, mate. Take care.
Catch up with you soon and let us know how you get on at Chesterfield on Friday.
Thanks, mate.
Let Simon go. Thanks, everybody who's been watching. If you're going to the match tomorrow night, have a great game. Or if you're going on Friday, I'm hoping to get up there myself on Friday to see them in there. Richie says, good show tonight. Thanks, Richie. It's all about your comments. So thank you so much for helping us out there with all those in there. We'll see you very soon. Locks is live on Thursday at 6:30. And of course, Jamie from the Fox's Arms in Alcudia is live on Sunday at 9:30. Mobsy gets the last comment in. Hope you're well, Chris. I thought you were on holiday. Most keepers do sit on the bench. I suppose when you've got 4 keepers like we did have, they're bound to be in there. Phil Upton says, is the game shown on the website? I expect it is, but we haven't heard anything much about that. Again, the club doing their usual, keeping things quiet. John O'Tower says, good stuff, Bill. Can't wait for football to get going again. We're all looking forward to it. And Ian says, 40 grand a week to sit on the bench. Nice job if you can get it for multiple years, isn't it, Ian? That's the life of a footballer, whereas you and me have the life of a football fan where we have to try and somehow find 60 quid to buy a shirt and 500 quid for a season ticket. 40 grand a week. Wouldn't you love it if you could get it? We'd all do it. We'd all love it. I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching Leicester Fan TV. Thanks to our sponsors, Everards, Barlow Blinds, Pukka Pies, Car Leasing, Distillers Direct, Hollogram, Take Me, Newby Co, the Fox's Arms and Rainbows. Run by the fans, for the fans. Follow us on socials at Leicester Fan TV and visit leicesterfantv.com for all the latest news, views and videos.